Jason Rzucidlo reporting for AmericaJR.com, being joined by country star Steve Azar. How are you today?
Hey, good morning, buddy. I'm good.
Very good. Okay, I wanted to go back a few years to begin with. So I understand you started singing at the young age of 5. Can you tell me more about that?
If I can remember that far back, I know it probably wasn't pretty good. But, yeah, I think I was one of those kids that was, that basically my whole life, sort of between sports and music, it was a juggling act. And the great thing about music was you could take it, you know, to any athletic event. And I started playing sports from t-ball all the way to football, basketball, and baseball. My whole, you know, basically through my upbringing, and I turned music into sort of, you know, the entertainment for the night. And yeah, it's so long ago. I've never been taken that far back, but it feels good.
So my understanding is you went to Delta State University for pre-med. Why did you decide to switch to music?
Well, I was doing music. My band was playing on a regular basis throughout college, and we were playing throughout the Southeast into schools quite a bit. By the time I graduated college, I had 2 30-foot trucks and 10 people on the payroll. We were a road band playing original music and songs that I wrote, and doing about 3.5 to 4 hours of it. So, you know, it was funny. You know, my brother's a great surgeon. He's actually the Memphis Grizzlies orthopedic surgeon, so he has an NBA team. He deals with the Memphis Tigers, and he's studied under Dr. Andrews in Birmingham, who's the noted, sports medicine guy. And he's done really well, and my sisters are married to surgeons.
Why do you think your single, I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday, was so successful?
Well, we had to work real hard. It was one of those songs that lost its life about, 11 or 12 times. It took over a year to work. Actually, there were stations that were playing it 2 years before I actually signed my deal with Universal back then. It just, I don't know, it's withstood the, I guess looking back in hindsight, it's still, and in the radio business, it tests really well. It has no burn. And as a songwriter, it's interesting because, you know, you want to write those songs, but you never can figure it out. It's just, you get, every once in a while as a songwriter, you get a gift, and to be able to record, you know, the song, it's like a double whammy. It's the icing on the cake to actually have been the guy that actually sang the song he wrote. So, you know, it's interesting. I don't know. I think it connects with people. I get it. I have a lot, you know, you got to realize, for me, I'm usually working over the weekend, you know, Thursday through Sunday, out on the road. And but all my friends who don't do what I do, they live for the weekend, especially long ones. So I think the sentiment really rung true with a lot of people.
Okay. Now, what's the story behind your latest single, Sunshine, Everybody Needs a Little?
Well, I think everybody really does need a little, but it's a song that I was out with Bob Seger, opening for Bob. It was a fantastic tour, and how Bob shared his fans with us. And I have this habit of coming off the bus or wherever, and when I do sound checks, I just start making up songs, and sort of not really thinking about anything, just goofing off whatever I see in the room or whatever. But I was in the back of the bus, and usually I'm listening to jazz back there, and it's dark and cold, and I was in this mood, and I just started singing, you know, and playing, "Your dark hair draped across my pillow." And it just started happening. And then 3 or 4 shows later on the Seeger tour, we were playing it at the show. So it was just one of those moments, just like I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday, and even Waiting on Joe, the song that Monday was off of, the album that Monday was, the title track was Waiting on Joe for that album, and Morgan Freeman was in the video, and it just, when I'm playing Sunshine, I get this feeling of Monday and Waiting on Joe, the emotion of Waiting on Joe, and sort of the hit factor of Monday, the sort of wrapped into one song. And we're definitely seeing impact, and it's selling, and it's starting to really do well with radio as well. And wherever we get radio play in the daylight, when the sun's coming out, it's pardon the pun, but when the sun is shining, it seems to make a difference when the radio plays it during the day. So it's interesting. We're sort of just keeping an eye on that, but I think that everybody does need a little bit of sunshine right now, and I think in this time, economic problems and our soldiers overseas and their families waiting on them to come home, and I just think it's time to hold on to our relationships that we have closer than ever, and I think that that's what's going to carry us through it. And I think that people are feeling, when they hear the song, I think they're thinking about whatever relationship's closest to them, and they're thinking, well, that's, I think people are just gravitating toward that. That's the stories that I'm hearing. It's the emails we get. I would have never thought about all that when I wrote the song. I was sort of not thinking about anything. And me and my percussionist Jason Young, when we wrote the thing, we were just writing a song. We were moved by it and moved by the moment, but it was we've gotten a lot more than we bargained for, which is good.
Alrighty, that's good. Can you give me some highlights of your latest album, Slide On Over Here?
Well, it's it was totally inspired by being out with Bob. I mean, when I was out with Bob, I was realizing things that were missing as far as me as in my entertaining life, and especially on record. Sometimes as songwriters we can tend to get heavy and too serious all the time, and sometimes you just have to lighten up. And Bob took you on every emotion. He took you as deep as he could take you, and then he lightened up, and gave you the big smile and gave you a reason just to smile and not overthink things. And I felt like I was missing that. So I've always had this, important connection and important need to talk about my roots in the Mississippi Delta, and I do that on every record. But and I did it on this record with Sweet Delta Chains, and with Come On Back to Memphis. And it goes on and on. But with that said, and Sinking or Swimming with You is definitely about the feel of where I grew up and sort of the life I lived down there and how I related to love. But with all that said, I do think that this record was a direct connection with hanging out with doing 46 shows with Bob's fans and with Bob's band, and just being on that tour. It just really sort of influenced the whole record. So that's sort of in a nutshell the truth.
Alrighty, I want to start talking about the Downtown Hoedown, because I understand you'll be performing there on Saturday, May 15th at 6:15.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Now, you also performed at the Hoedown in 1996. So what do you think about the festival?
I remember we did it with the Kentucky Headhunters, and I remember it being a very aggressive show. I remember it being pretty warm, and I remember as an entertainer, I felt the need to go hard. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to playing it. Every crowd is different. Depending on the time of the day, how long they've been out there, what mood they're in. There's an overall feeling you get when you get on stage and you look out there. You get this feeling, and that's sort of where I go. I go with the crowd. So I'm looking forward to playing. The radio station there and I are good friends, and they've been supportive of me even in crazy times, and I really appreciate that. And hey, the last 4 nights we had there were at the Palace with Bob, so I'm looking forward to getting outside and hopefully moving the crowd and also us as a band having a great time.
Copyright 2010, AmericaJR.com, Detroit, Michigan, USA.